Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Saucecast, where stories inspire, lessons turn into mentorship, one drop of sauce at a time.
So guys, this is episode 1, as Echha said, and we are in a roundtable called Saucecast with Joyston and Afif, along with my co-host Echha as well. Today again, as always, we just want to have a casual chat, get to know you guys, apart from the version we know you outside. We just want to kind of let the audience know you guys a little bit more as well. So out of curiosity, Joyston and Afif, if you guys could break it down on what do you guys do, like explain to a 5-year-old what your job is. Please explain to me, Joyston. Explain to a 5-year-old what your job is.
Firstly, thank you for having me over at this podcast. I love podcasts, and to be a part of one is fantastic. My name is Joyston Dmello. I'm the co-founder of Yarns of the East. It's a rug manufacturing company. The manufacturing happens in India, but we service Dubai and the rest of the Middle East. And the aim is to grow the handcraft art across the globe. I also co-founded a photo booth company in India. It's currently in Mumbai, but we service the rest of the country as well. So to explain a 5-year-old, I keep myself busy.
I'm the co-founder of Bizhub, and we're a business setup firm based over here itself. And we assist clients with relocating to the UAE by helping them setting up a company over here. And we help them with obtaining a residence visa so that they can move over here. We don't really just stop over there itself. Once they basically move over here, we basically help them with their post-business services, such as helping them provide with their accounting services. We help them with their social media services as well. And at the same time, we also ensure to make sure that they settle in well over here. So we do provide them in concierge services too.
Really interesting stuff, man. Yeah. And I think a common theme of today's episode under BYOB, that is build your own brand, which is something I've spoke to you guys about it in the past. But the thing that brings us all together is sales, right? Let's face it. At the end of the day, I think sales is one of the most important fields, important skills for anyone to have as well. And I think that's what brings us together. And that's what the central theme is of the episode today. Yeah. So I want to ask you guys as well, what brought you guys into sales in the first place, right? You guys have some kind of calling, or you guys love talking, or what was it for you guys? Because for me, it was purely that I love talking to people. I love being in front of the client-facing side and kind of just get to know the person.
Right. And
then I got to know you get paid to do that. How cool is that, right? And I think Joyston is the one who gave me my first break in my whole sales journey as well. And I think I'm forever grateful for that. But how about you guys? How do you guys get started?
Believe it or not, I never wanted to get into sales.
Okay.
Right? I come from Mumbai, and I come from a very modest family, right? So for us, sales is like a big no-no, right? Hey, get a proper desk job and do your work, right? And fortunately or unfortunately, my first job was sales, right? So I was in banking, and I started doing sales. And, once you get a taste of sales, then you end up loving it, right? And, I've ended up realizing that everyone is selling at some point, right? Whether that's for your work or whether that's in life, right? So I started loving sales, started reading a lot more about sales. And when podcast became a thing, I started listening to it. And, it's just fun listening to people who sell, right? The movies around it, there's so much more. But, the best part of selling is you end up talking to people, right?
Yeah.
And I hate the word sales to what it's become. I like the word, I like it more as a concept where you're just connecting with people. Because the moment you connect with the person feels, hey, this person not pushing something over me. The person really understands my problem and he's given me a solution, and I like the solution. Maybe that solution is a little more expensive than someone else, but I like the solution better and this person understands me. So today I'm a biggest fan of sales, and I would like, people say, I want to become an engineer, I want to become a doctor. I would like just to be common now, I would want to be a salesperson, right? I would really like to see that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's me and sales.
100%. I feel like, yes.
Initially at the very beginning, when you hear the word sales itself, you're meant to hate it. Because people basically have this idea that sales, okay, if I'm going to work somewhere, I'm going to be pressurized. I basically will have a very short period of time till I could prove someone something. And if I'm not being able to sell, then that's it, they're going to kick me out. But so I was basically one of them as well. So initially at the very beginning when I was looking for jobs, this was back in like 2016, 17. I would look through LinkedIn, Indeed, and I would basically search for all these positions apart from sales. And all I would find online was sales, in short. So quite specifically 4 years ago itself, I used to work for a business setup company. And I started off working over there as an operations executive. One day I actually approached my manager and I was just like, listen, I need an increment. So I'm actually willing to work all day. Just increase my salary. He was just like, management is not going to agree, but why don't you move into sales? There are so many 18, 19-year-olds working over here. They're making 10K, they're making 11K. You can also be one of them. You decide how much you make. When you're making less money, you have the desperation to make a certain figure itself. So I was just like, all right, fine, I'll do it. With a lot of demotivated mindset, I'm just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go ahead with it. So what used to happen over here was, on a regular basis, he would call me to various places like lounges. He would call me to clubs as well. And I'm not really sure why he would call me, because he would never tell me that. He would just go like, hey, Afif, where are you? I'm like, I'm at home. Come here. I said, okay, fine. Now he's my manager. I can't say no.
Yeah.
I did this a lot of times. And at one point, I'm just like, I'm really wasting my time. I don't understand why am I doing this? After like 2 or 3 weeks of me stopping, going out with him and everything, I started getting calls from these people who I met. Listen, they told me that you do business setup. I need help with this. I really liked speaking to you. I need help with all of that. And then I'm just like, wait a minute. There is something interesting about this particular part, because now there is a potential lead, there is a potential sale. I am communicating with that person. I'm not selling the person at all. It was a very basic conversation, and it just ended up in that particular space where they're just like, okay, I need this thing from you. And then I realized that sales is not about you approaching someone to sell something. It's just you creating that network for yourself.
100%. And to add on to what he said as well, I think what he's explained is sales, right? That is kind of listening and showing up, right?
Exactly.
Let's say this room, for example, we're kind of sitting there, we handpicked you guys, put a mic in front of you guys and just talk. That's it. And people have to talk, isn't it? I think we all know that.
Especially sales guys, right?
Especially sales guys, all they like to do is blabber, but some would call it blabber, but I think Echha would like to add on to that, right?
Yeah, I would actually, very interesting, background stories about sales, but how did sales actually help you build, your entrepreneur journey is what we'd like to dive a bit into. Joyston, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and while I was just saying it outside as well, everything that happens in life happens for a reason, right? Everything is a stepping stone to something bigger or better in your life, right? I started my journey in work-wise from a bank, right? Citibank. I worked as a sales agent selling credit cards. From there, I learned how credit cards work and how the point system work, which till date I use. I eventually got promoted and I joined investments. And I think that was the best decision of my life, because the community I come from, right? I have to bring religion, unfortunately. I'm a Catholic. We like to enjoy, we like to live today. And we think of the future, of course, but not to the extent that the rest, I come from India, so the rest of the country thinks. When I learned finance, I realized what finance can do for you, what investments can do for you, what budgeting can do for you. And that's where I started my investment journey, which was in 2016. I just started investing tiny bits into share markets of sorts, right? So that helped me build my finance. I come from, again, like I said, I come from a modest family, so I didn't have huge finances to fall back on. So this built my base, and then obviously I moved to Dubai for better standard of living. Dubai, from a vision perspective, was obviously growing. They moved away from petroleum, and had a huge push, not just for tourism but even for trade, which is really a positive sign for a country or a city like Dubai. So I came here. I joined my ex company, Love That Design. I worked 5 years there with a startup, so I was introduced to startup. A great team. That's how I met Aditya as well. Great founders. Such a great atmosphere, right? Like Afif mentioned, sales is pressure, but at that company, you didn't feel pressure. You was just eased into it, right? And I built connections. That's why I learned the word network, right? And build relationships, because I think relationships are so key, right? You don't know when a person can be of value to you, right? And I'm not saying be selfish and meet people, but just be there for people. Maybe just keep helping people, because you don't know when a person is going to remember you and would need your help, right? And I had to join my uncle's business, which is into manpower. And the founders were kind enough to say, hey, okay, do it, because I know you got to do it, but also be here at Love That Design. So I was doing both at some point. And again, this is a key feature in entrepreneurship, right? You have to forget the term weekend. Work-life balance, and I know work-life balance is key, and I'm not saying oh, just stress out, no, but your traditional thinking of 9 to 5 has to move out. I, for a year or a year and a half, didn't have any weekends, didn't go any concerts. I in fact I won a couple of free trips to Europe, didn't take it. Right, because I thought of it as I invest in it today, and I know this is going to be a better future for me ahead, right? So unfortunately I had to move away from Love That Design, and I said, okay, I have free time. I definitely need a second source of income, which is key for your audience listening as well. Always have a second source of income. I was always passionate about starting something, but let me tell you this, passion doesn't pay bills, right? So have a financial background and then jump into your passion, right? Great, passion is great, everything is good, but have your finances steady, right? So I didn't know what I wanted to start into, didn't have any talents. All I could do was sell. I was lucky enough, or fortunate enough, to meet my current business partner at Yarns of the East. And, you know, I was introduced to rugs. Obviously, I came from an interior design background. I love that design. And we said, okay, fine, let's start handmade rugs. So we built a brand, right? And we started off a journey there together, got off to a decent start. And I have to give credit to not just the product, but also the term brand, right? You got to build a brand. You got to bring that story out, because people can relate with stories, right? If anyone can start any company, but people still need to buy from you, right? Absolutely. But when you have a story behind a product, people can relate with it and have a little bit of empathy towards the brand. And that's how we did quite well. And then, you know, I had time. I was really passionate about photo booths. I always wanted to start in Dubai. I didn't have an opportunity.
You're passionate about photo booths.
Photo booths, yeah.
That's something we hear every day, right?
Yeah, you don't hear that every day, right? It's such a niche. But I have to tell you, you know, we started photo booth in India with my childhood buddy. Again, you know, just trying to educate him on move away from a 9 to 5 and you know, have a side hustle of sorts. So we started that together, and today it's buzzing, right? We are 6 months in, and we're doing quite well, right? We're booked out almost every single day, which is quite good. And I understand it's a season time, but again, it's a variety of things, right? Entrepreneurship is not just about having a product and trying to sell it. It's building a brand around it and building a service around it, right? Every touch point that you have has to be an engagement, and a positive engagement, right? So we focused a lot on that, so much so that, you know, when you have a photo booth and an event, it does its work, right? But no, we make sure that we have a host or a hostess who's talking to people, making them comfortable, because many of them come just take a picture, right? No, like, hey, push them for poses, talk to them and ease them out. And, you know, we've now started getting feedback from people saying, you know, I like how you engage audience, and that's how we feel.
And again, and I think, again, to go back to the center, I think that's what sales is, right? Kind of focus on every touch point. Again, boils down to human behavior, or kind of like how people are and how people interact. Right? The small corrections, the bottle being there, or the way you dressed, the small touches really go a long way. But you really mentioned something called, you mentioned about your job, how you started off, right? I think something very relevant, something we really want to talk about, is job market in Dubai, right? I'm very curious to take your take on that as well. Like, I mean, let's face it, right? An actual stat which I kind of came across recently is Dubai is the most competitive job market in the world. That's insane. That is around 250 job applications per job. That's insane, right? Something I never believed, that Dubai was the most competitive market. And there's New York, there's places like that. But why is Dubai the most competitive or saturated market, I would call it? What is your take on that, guys? Like, I'm very curious to hear, like, how do you guys, when you were working and to how it's now, And what do you suggest people to kind of maneuver this whole hustle or, the saturated talent market?
Dubai is basically a place where they've made it so easy for people to set up a company. It's, we're talking about, okay, if you feel like setting up a company right now, we'll set it up in the next 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is. They've made it so simple that you don't require any sorts of a startup capital to begin with. You don't need any sorts of extra documentation to begin with. You don't need any history as well to begin with. So, because there are so many companies out there that are basically giving out so many opportunities to a lot of people to work with them, is actually one of the main reasons as to why there are so many opportunities for jobs over here in Dubai to begin with. People actually really need to understand as to what do they want to do when it comes down to actually being in one particular field to begin with. And this is what many people actually fail to understand. You have to actually explore yourself, and you need to understand what exactly are you most comfortable with to begin with. Now, a lot of them say that there's a lot of jobs out there, but I apply and I don't get any response. I've been applying for the past 1 month. I've been applying for the past 20 days, 30 days, whatever that is. And sometimes people go like, I apply for it, but the responses that I'm getting are basically from small companies itself. They're paying me very less. They're telling me it's commission based. Yeah, it will be that way itself, because at the end of the day, it's basically placing you in one position to help someone out into making them a bigger company, in short. Into helping them generate revenues, into helping them giving that exposure that they want.
Okay.
So my say over here is that everybody has their own set of skills. Everybody has their own set of interests.
What I'd like to add on to what you said, Afif, very interestingly, you said, like Dubai being the vision, having the vision right now, the hub for businesses, and it's so easy to set up. In an hour, everything's done. Yeah. But what's your take on all the corporate tax that's coming around? What's your take with that? Does this make it difficult for future entrepreneurs, for people who are actually looking to build their own businesses?
So the corporate income tax was basically introduced in 2021. And they've stated that if there's any business out there that's making more than 375,000 dirhams in net profit, then there will be a 9% that will be charged for them to pay as a tax. Now, let's just say, for example, that your business has made 400,000 annually. So you're basically going to be paying 9% of the difference between 375 and 400, which is 25,000 dirhams. What Dubai is basically trying to do over here is that they're trying to make lives easier for businesses in terms of taxes, because when people think of this particular word or when they hear about it, they start fearing.
Of course.
They're just like, okay, I didn't get the money that it's gone entirely itself.
Yeah.
But they basically state, no, you can make as much as money as you want, but we're going to start charging you after you've made 375,000 dirhams.
And that net income, right? It's not your income.
Entirely.
Yeah.
So as a business individual, you technically have the freedom to add as many costs as you want. And nobody's actually going to tell you anything about it. It's because over here, there are no particular strict rules about why do you have any particular costing to begin with. For example, if your business has 2 operational managers where you're paying them 100,000 each as a salary, for example, nobody's going to question you why. You can
guys, it's not a loophole. Yeah?
It's it's not a loophole. But it's about the flexibility in short. Now, tax is basically out there in all parts of the world. It's something pretty common, because at the end of the day, the money that the government makes through taxes, it's being put into the country itself. And this place is so beautiful. And I think they utilize this money for a good cause. It's for ourselves itself.
Better infrastructure.
Better.
Yeah. Right. To kind of add on to that point, just out of curiosity, over here, how many of us are actually born and brought up Dubai kids?
I think you and I.
I'm guessing even Afif.
Afif as well. So makes it 3 of us.
So the reason I asked this question is, at least for me, right? I've been in Dubai all my life. I'm not going to disclose the years because I was going to disclose my age. So I've been in Dubai all my life. I'm at a point where I think grass is greener on the other side, right? Where everyone, people my age, they are like, let's go Australia, let's go US, let's go UK. So what is it for you guys? For me, Australia is in my long-term plan. I know you have some some opinion on that, but I would love to know for you guys. You guys actually see for yourself and for your business and for the future, for you guys personally, do you guys see yourself in Dubai in the next 5 years? Let's call it 5 years. Make it more realistic. For me,
I would like to hear from you guys though, because for me, grass was greener on the other side, which was Dubai. And I came to Dubai, which is, the grass is actually greener here, right? It's not that like India has its own. It's a beautiful country, but it has its own challenges, right? If I have to just answer you, what am I like? Do I serve myself going to US and Australia and all of that? All great countries. For me, I just think I like to travel different places, right? And I don't want to be, I want to be a nomad. And that's one of my goals. Like I want to be financially free by 40 and be a nomad. Just travel different places, meet different people, meet different cultures. Because I think while you say this world is small, it's quite big. And there's a lot of people out there, each of them with its own story, right? I would like to meet these people. But you guys being here, I would like to hear from you guys. Like what is, like you said, Australia. Why Australia?
For me, Australia is one of the places I really want to go. Purely because I think there's a good balance of, let's say, nature and whatnot. And I think maybe in the bottom of my life, I do want to see a little bit of green, you know, like for me, literally grass is green on the other side, right? So I do want to kind of be in a different, and I think change is good. Change is always good, right? It kind of puts you in a different environment, test you out.
My mom always told me that, listen, apply for the States, apply in the UK. In 2014 more specifically, when I just got done with my education from school, in short, immediately I applied for the States itself. I got accepted in some college. I don't remember the college's name anymore. And I got the interview date and everything, and I'm just like, no, wait, something doesn't feel right. You have this thing in your head, like, that you want to go over there, but you go like, no, I think I should stay back. Why I decided to stay back, I still don't know back then. But then there was a point in my life, like, where I basically went like, okay, it's all about money. It's all about taking care of my family. There are so many people out there that are just like, Dubai is the place where you make money. Dubai is the place where you can become a millionaire. So when I basically started working in this business setup company, I met a lot of people. Within every conversation that I have with everyone, the first thing that I always ask them is like, why did you choose to set up a company here? Why do you want to set one up? And then they basically say that, man, I'm tired of taxes. I cannot deal with this anymore. The government basically provides us with the passport or the green card or whatever that is. After 5 years, they're giving us free healthcare. They're giving us everything that we want. But we need to make sure that this is the best for us. And what they provide us with is something that makes us settle with. But is it what we really want? We want the best for ourselves at the end of the day. And we basically get to make the best decisions for ourselves when we decide what we want to do. When I get done with these meetings itself, like, I sit back and I just go like, okay, I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I don't have to fight to keep my own money.
Absolutely.
I don't have to go through that stage. There are so many people out there that are basically going like, okay, we need to plan this. We need to show this cost just to keep your own money. Really? How does that work? If I want, I can travel tomorrow and I can come back after 1 week and I can get a change of environment. Why do I have to leave this space entirely and adapt to something else all over again? Just for the sake of some passport? To begin with, by the way, you can buy second citizenships.
Yeah, it's become relatively easier now.
6 months. That will give you the freedom to travel
Caribbean,
up to Caribbean passports. You can travel 140 plus countries, visa free. I mean, isn't that what we want at the end of the day?
No, absolutely. I think, Afif, I kind of aligned with you. Being here all my life, I think it is one of the safest countries, and I'm proud to say that I belong 100%. From here. And no plans of moving for me. Totally. All happy here. And like you said, tax-free country. I'm getting more money.
We need to be millionaires here.
Absolutely. So you spoke about, how, people talk about becoming a millionaire in Dubai. What's the hack to become a millionaire here? Both of you tell us.
Hack, secret, whatever it is.
You go first.
I'd like to hear from you first.
So clearly none of us are millionaires here. Look, I don't think there's a hack for anything, right? What comes quick goes quick. So build something that's steady and that's long term because that stays. I'll give you a small anecdote, right? When I started Yarns of the East, we did quite well at the start. We got into projects that companies would just dream of, especially for a young company like us. And we, my partner and me would always talk like, okay, this was easy. I mean, are people not doing something right? And 6 months in or 1 year in, we started seeing a little bit of the shaky bit, right? And you have to understand, I don't come from a business background. I didn't study business, so I'm taking it as it goes. We took a couple of decisions that were not right. It was a little bit of our fault where our product wasn't right, and there's no shame in admitting it. But the answer is, what you do after, right? That distinguishes you as a good company or not a good company, right? So we made sure everything went right at the end. And coming back to your question, the difference between a company that's been there for long and company like us, although we beat them on a couple of projects, is consistency.
Okay.
They managed doing that for years over and over and over again. And a company like us, I don't know, you can call it beginner's luck or what that was. I don't know, maybe relationships. We jumped on a few relationships that got us through the door and some of the big projects. But consistency is the key. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, definitely does. So I think for Joyston it's consistency, but for you, Afif, if it is in a sentence, what would it be?
In order to become a millionaire?
Yes,
Essentially.
we want some tips to become a millionaire.
When we say that we want to become a millionaire, we basically think that, okay, we're going to have 1 million in our bank account. That's called being a millionaire. But it's I would say that it's simple. It is consistency that builds you towards that itself. But you also have to ensure that when you speak of having that much amount of money, it's all about losing and gaining money. So you're basically in that flow of cash that comes in, that comes out. So you basically have to prepare your mind in that particular aspect itself, that 1 million is not going to stay in my account. If it's there today, tomorrow it will go. I've been running this business for the past 1 year and 7 months, to be very precise. And within the space of 1 year and 2 months itself, we reached a total revenue of 2.3 million. Sounds pretty cool, right?
Absolutely.
When you see the sheet, when you see the balance sheet, I'm just like, okay, I made this much? I don't realize that. It's because in the papers, it looks good. But when you see your bank balance, it's a whole different story as well. It's because you have to understand that there are so many costs that revolve around you and your business, which makes it seem like, okay, I basically cannot become a millionaire to begin with. But again, it's entirely the mindset. So one day I actually sat with this client of mine. He basically wanted to go for dinner. So he was in my car and I was just like, you can buy anything that you want, right? Like, you have the freedom to get anything that you want. He was just like, I do. But in order to get to this stage itself, I basically lost a lot of money too. In the space of 3 years, he lost about $2.5 billion.
Wow.
To remain at that stage of making $1 million every single month. And
Interesting, okay.
his mindset over here is that don't think that you're a millionaire. Don't expect that particular amount to remain in your bank. It will come, it will go.
It's also, once you get that million, what do you do with it, right? How do you grow from there, right? So I am a huge fan of share markets, not trading, but just share markets. And I'm sure everyone has heard of Warren Buffett,
Yes,
right?
of course.
It's your first, obviously in dollars, it's your first $100,000 that you have to really struggle to get, because once you hit that mark, then it's easy going from there, because you've achieved consistency, right? And same thing with million when you come down to dirhams, right? $1 million dirhams, right? You've struggled. You don't get it overnight, right? You've got to do something that gets you that money. So you've done something right over a period of time that has got you that million. Once you've got the success formula, just keep being at it, right?
100%.
And your 1 million can easily be 2, 3, and you have something called as a compound interest, which is like a wonder of the world. if you really go by that principle, you'll do magic once you have that kind of money.
So now we know
That's
tricks
awesome.
to magic as well, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting the hacks, we're getting the tricks.
Yeah.
To kind of like adapt back to the whole reason we're here today, sales, right? And I think a main factor with sales is charisma, or let's call it how the leaders or how the founders and how they carry themselves and how they are as a person. I think that reflects a little bit into personal branding, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested. I think founder-led marketing is a really interesting concept, right? Where essentially the founder or the business owner, his marketing or his personal branding itself kind of drives the marketing or drives the social presence of the company and the brand itself, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of founder-led marketing, and what works for you guys, and what would you suggest to our audience out there, and how they can build a little bit of their founder presence and a little bit of their own little social media presence as well?
Yeah. Personal branding is so key, right? Especially in such a social world that we are in today, and with social media, people buy from people, right? If they know you and they've heard of you, I mean, you speak to them, they would be more interested. And I'll tell you why it comes so naturally to founders to sell, right? Because they're passionate about what they've started, right? They know that business more than anybody else does, right? You talk to the top founders of these companies. They all have really passionate founders, and they will do the selling for the longest time till they just don't have the time to do it, right? And even until now, and this is one of the challenges which I'm also trying to learn on how do I get away with it, is I like to keep that control of sales with me. But I run Yarns of the East and I run the photo booth company. At some point, I just don't have the time. I'm passionate about marketing as well. I just can't do everything, right? So the control has to go away, and that's something that people need to learn.
100%.
Especially me.
Makes sense, yeah. What be a few, like, how do you maneuver this?
Me as an individual, I've always been camera shy, by the way. Every time, there's a camera in front of me, I tend to stumble, or sometimes I tend to stutter, in short. But then at one point, I realized that, okay, so I'm basically in a service-based industry, in short, right? And people are basically not buying from my company. They're buying from me. And when I basically understood this part, it was important for me to tell myself that, listen, you have to be very casual in front of the camera itself, because it's more like you're speaking to someone else. You're not selling anyone anything, but you're just out there, you're expressing what you do, how passionate you are about what you're currently doing, and what are the perks, what are the benefits, and everything that's all about. And that's when the engagement comes in. That's when the interaction comes in, because a person would always want to listen to another person. They would not want to listen to another company, in short, because the mindset over here is that if I listen to a company, that means that they're going to sell me. Exactly. But if I'm going to listen to a person, that means that they're going to advise me. And that's when I understood that personal branding is very important, because it contributes to a lot of people engaging with what you do, and it ignites this interest within them that he's basically talking about this. That means that I might want to do this. I might want to be a part of this. I might want to open up a company. And that's where the engagement comes in. And that's where I feel that there are a lot of business owners out there that basically say that we don't want to do it. As a matter of fact, I myself used to go okay, I don't want to do it. I have this content creator who works with us itself, and he basically pays a visit to our office every single week to shoot about 4 or 5 content. And every time he comes, I'm the one that tries to leave the office the most. And then he's just no, you got to come back. And then I'm just no, I don't have the time. I have to go for this meeting. I have to do that. And then he's just do you want these meetings to continue? Do you want these meetings to keep coming in? I'm yeah. He was referrals, you get them, people are suggesting you, that's one thing. But don't you want to reach a bigger audience? Don't you want people out there to know what you do? Is it better for you to speak to one person, which is obviously something that you're supposed to do? Or is it better for you to speak to the camera and reach out to 1,000? And I was just okay, if you want to increase the business, you have to do this in short.
Reach matters.
Yeah, reach matters. And then I realized that, okay, you have to focus on personal branding. And since then, I was just you know what? Okay, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to start off with this.
And that's the difference between traditional companies and modern companies, right? Like personal branding, marketing, and all of these plays such a key role. If you don't focus on this, like you look at like traditional companies, marketing was a big, like a small budget probably assigned to it. But now in such a cutthroat competitive market, everyone is focusing on branding, marketing, and personal branding. Very, very important. And you know, today we have a complete segment that's towards personal branding. That's influencer marketing. What is influencer marketing? Guys who have built a brand for themselves. You might like them, you might not like them, right? But they build a brand for themselves, right? They could be as cringy as they come.
Yeah.
But they have built a brand, which is not easy.
100%.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Right.
But quick question on that. Very interesting something you picked on, Joyston, about traditional companies and new age companies. But don't you think like it's always the marketing budgets that get slashed first in an organization?
I wouldn't know it. I'll tell you why. Because for me, at Yarns of These and the photo booth, my priority is marketing.
Amazing.
Without marketing, my company doesn't survive. Especially photo booth. It's in an event industry. I got to be out there, right? My name has to be out there. When I say my name, the company name, right? So for me, the first, when I get the budget, it's like, okay, we got some marketing budgets. What do we do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, this is the only budget I have, but just tell me what we can do. So for me, marketing plays a key role. So I would like to hear, like, but you're right. I understand bigger companies, like I said, I have a family business. That's a very traditionally run business. We didn't have a website for the longest time. And I said, the only condition that I had is when I joined my family company is I need an email ID for myself and I need a website on, right? I think it's sad that when marketing budgets get cut, but like I don't have an answer to it because I don't support that cause. So
Makes
That's
sense.
good to know.
You know, marketing is actually one of the most complicated topics to talk about when it comes down to a business because every startup is pretty clueless about it. Everyone is entirely clueless. When I started off with my business, the first 9 months basically went by referrals itself. That's how the business went on. And the referral volume was way too much. So at one point I was just like, okay, this is enough. It's coming in. People are going like, okay, hey, I heard about you. But then I was like, no, wait. Referrals can stop at any moment. What exactly is it that I can do? That's when I basically decided to go like, okay, I'll do the traditional thing itself, digital ads, and I'll just like, start off with that. There are these companies out there that are putting in like, 30,000 dirhams. They're putting 40,000 dirhams every single month. They're out there on Google. They're out there on Facebook. You just see them itself, and I'm just like, how am I going to compete with that? If I basically continue to burn money in this particular part, I will flunk. And then I understood that. So marketing is not. It's not digital ads. This is what I understood, and I was just like, I have to basically create this space for people to interact with my business, and I have to market this accordingly itself. So what do I exactly do? Quite frankly speaking, I'm not sure if you both have seen the page, but you have, right? And there's a lot of education that's there. There's a lot of cringe videos as well that's there. And sometimes, I've heard a lot of people when for example, we've uploaded a video and after 1 week I meet a couple of people and they're talking about it and they're just like laughing, you've said this, this is what's happened. And I'm just like, the fact that people are talking about it is marketing. The fact that people are,
right? Yeah.
And the fact that people are basically taking my company's name, it doesn't matter if you guys are talking about business setup or not.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys took the name Bizhub itself is basically the key where at least one person will end up going like, okay, what is this thing? What do they do?
And that's about it. I think really like word of mouth really works as well. And I think for a young startup, marketing spend should not be the first thing in mind, of course. It's getting the product great, getting the organization structure sorted out. And then I think spending for PR and marketing is something secondary for a young startup, depending on the nature of the business as well, right?
Yeah. I want to do a quick question round with both of you. So now, speaking about marketing, speaking about product, and what Aditya's feedback was also regarding that. Quick question: would you rather have a good product or a better marketing?
Good product.
Afif.
Good product.
Can I give you a reason for that?
No, this is no
Okay.
reason question. Sorry.
It's the problem having the same people on the podcast.
There was a case study on that. That's why.
Okay, so one more question now.
These are
Unlimited.
such difficult questions, by the way.
Not at all. We'll be quick on this. Unlimited funding, but lack of creative or no creative room for creativity, or a lot of room for creativity and limited funding. You got the point.
Yeah. I'm a bootstrap project, so I want to see the other side as well. So I'll take the funding route on this one.
A
Funding
lot of
or-
room for creativity is
what you pick.
Is what I pick.
Amazing. A small loyal customer base that you can keep retaining forever, or someone with large ticket but probably only invest in your product like once or twice.
There's a huge dilemma with this question because, like,
In one sentence, though, because we're
One
closing up.
sentence.
I would say a small loyal customer base,
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
big ticket one.
not a big ticket.
So you don't
one.
want to be a millionaire soon. is what-
No, when you have a small ticket customer base itself, you basically get the mass. You get, for example, like let's just give an example. I would much rather have 10 people each paying me 10 dirhams rather than one person paying me
That's
50.
fine. Good enough.
Absolutely relate.
Moving
to that.
on to you now.
Yeah, small but
Smaller
a loyal
ticket.
customer base.
Okay, high risk growth, high risk and growth quickly, or low risk, and then
I've been preaching about consistency, so I'll go with
So,
the second option for
low
sure.
risk. I'm
Low
assuming.
risk and
Yeah, low risk. I don't want to flunk that quick.
Okay, last one. Boomers or Gen Z?
all right.
Oh,
Tough
it's
one.
going to be controversial. Yeah, let's do
Tough
it.
one.
Okay, we'll cut this.
I'm very
I love
curious, yeah.
both of them.
Both
You
be a
can have
few.
millennials in your options, man. Like, what?
Okay, we'll conclude. Okay,
They're all lovely.
okay. Very diplomatic.
Very diplomatic.
Okay, so before we close, I have less than a minute. If you had to describe your mantra for success when things are falling apart, how would you?
Learn and keep learning and do things right. This world can be a better place if you are just good to the person next to you. If each person is good to the person next to them, this world can be a better place. And that's my mantra.
In short. Yeah. This guy.
Everything basically has a background story
Yeah.
to it. That's
Oh,
the whole
please.
thing itself. Yeah. You know, I always tell myself that problems come and go. So don't bother about it. If today you're flunking, tomorrow you're going to be successful. There's not going to be one part in life like, where you're down and you'll remain as it is.
Okay.
You will come back up.
Yeah.
So don't
Fair
worry.
enough.
Yeah.
Love that. This is
Yeah.
a really interesting thought from you and you as well. I think be nice to your
It's
neighbor
been
as well.
fun. I wish this was another 45 minutes. We could just keep going, actually.
I wish though, right? I feel like when people start talking, you don't realize the time
Yeah.
running away.
Yeah.
But generally, guys, honestly, I know you guys off camera as well. I really wanted to get, we want to get you guys for some time now. Gladly, I mean, you guys accepted and you guys here today and we had a great chat. But just going to wrap up the segment or wrap up the whole episode. Where can people find you, Joyston, your personal handle, and where can people find your multiple businesses as well?
I'm very bad
and
at
what
this.
is your next yearly plan as well? The next 5-year plan for you guys.
So I'm available everywhere, like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I might not be the most active person in each of them, but you can always reach out to each of those. I love talking. I love coffees. I love drinks. So just reach out, and I'm always happy to have a chat.
Love that.
And yeah,
It's about
I'm not on Tinder though.
not here. Yeah.
I am on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I am active. And I'm always down for a coffee or chat as well, because I really want to meet people out there. If they're actually struggling with anything, I do want to help them out, because somewhere down the line I was in a similar place when we speak of struggle, and I want to be out there to be able to help people. I think that's what service is all about.
And I think it's going to wrap up the whole episode as well, is give it a chance and you never know where it goes. Right? And I think Joyston had taught us a long time ago, law of reciprocity, right? It's something that that's still stuck in my head, and I think that's the whole idea, right? Give it a chance. You might know, or you might not know where it goes. If it goes great, then amazing. And I think it's just going to close it off as well.
So yeah, stay inspired and keep building.